Hello guys, my name is Nathan, aka Graviteh on YouTube. Of course, thanks so much to LEGO Rocks for letting me be on this video, boys. So as you can see, we teamed up to make our New York Rangers prospect pool, and as a guy who likes the Rangers quite a bit, this was super fun to make. So as you can see, I have the bottom half of my tier list here available to you guys, but I'm gonna be releasing the top half here in my video, so make sure you check me out. Subscribe if you haven't already, and subscribe to LEGO Rocks already if you haven't. What are you doing if you haven't either? So I'll turn the time over to LEGO Rocks for him to go throughout his tier list and give you guys his picks. But of course, subscribe to Graviteh, subscribe to LEGO Rocks if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my video and this video. Let's do this thing.
For the third time on this channel, ye ask and ye shall receive. Last time we made a prospects tier list video, the most prevalent comment that I got was, "Hey LEGO, do one of these for the Rangers." So I collaborated with Grav, you should go check out his channel and subscribe if you haven't, by the way. And we put together this tier list of New York Rangers prospects, and he did this tier list on his own channel. I'll leave a link in the description to that video. Go check that out when you're done with this one. See which list you agree with a little bit more. But for now, let's focus on my picks of New York Rangers prospects and where they rank on our tier list over here. Okay, so this is what our Rangers prospect tier list looks like. Just to refresh the rules, we're only taking a look at guys drafted in the 2015 draft and beyond. Actually, we already broke that. There's one player on this list who was drafted before 2015. I think you can kind of realize already who that player is. And we also took a look at guys who haven't had an extended amount of NHL playing time. It's the same scenario that we did with Michael Rasmussen from the Detroit Red Wings video last time. Now, we will say there are two exceptions on this list. First off, Lias Andersson is a guy who I am technically going to consider a prospect. Grav agreed with this as well, so that's why he's going to be on the list, as well as Ryan Lindgren. He's a guy who has had extended amount of NHL playing time, but he is on this tier list as well, just because I think it was a little bit of a weird scenario when thinking about who to add, and Lindgren just happened to be there. So this is our tier list template, franchise all the way down to AHL regulars. We have ourselves quite a lot of New York Rangers prospects right here. We have ourselves a total of 36 prospects, which is a lot, but we're going to do our best to rank these based off of their absolute realistic ceilings. Now, for ceilings, pretty much anybody can be a franchise player. Anybody can come over here and say, yeah, you know, they're franchise talents, but that's just not realistic. Not everybody is going to be able to have that franchise level potential, but some people can realistically achieve that based off of their ceilings. So we're going to go over realistic ceilings here in this video, starting things off with Tyler Wall. Now, Wall is a guy who I am going to put over here in the fringe starter category for goaltenders. Wall, if we check out what he was able to do for the University of Massachusetts Lowell in the NCAA, he finished up his senior year with a 9.31 and a 2.10 goals against average. A really, really solid statistical performance. He had the A on his sweater as a goalie. That says something right there. Coming into the Hartford Wolfpack, Wall is going to challenge for that starter spot in the AHL, and the way that he has shown so far says to me that he has fringe starter potential in the National Hockey League. Next up, we have ourselves Simone Kjellberg, who is a guy who I'm not super high on. Honestly, I'm going to put him here in the AHL star. If we check out his Elite Prospects page, he was never really a guy who was supposed to be super great offensively. When he was drafted all the way back in 2018, he was wrapping things up in the Super Elite as a pretty nice statistical profile for a D-man. But playing with the Dubuque Fighting Saints in the USHL, he really took a little bit of a hit. Then playing over with RPI in the NCAA as a 20-year-old, he's a guy who was playing in a pretty weak division, not gonna lie. The RPI doesn't play in the best division in the NCAA, and thus it's a little bit easier to score points. Just the way his progression has been trending doesn't really scream to me that he's going to be an amazing NHL prospect. So, just to be safe, we're putting him here in the AHL star category. Next up, it's a guy who I like a lot. We have ourselves Riley Hughes, who I'm going to put here in the AHL regular spot. I'm sorry, I like him because of his name, but Riley Hughes to me is a guy who doesn't really project all too nicely after his first season in college. He was good with the Victoria Grizzlies last year, don't get me wrong. Playing with Alex Newhook, he was a good player, but the Northeastern year wasn't really that great. 4 points in 34 games played as a right-wing player who is supposed to be a good offensive producer. Does he have the potential to become more than this? Absolutely. But this 1 year was so poor that I have no real choice but to say, I think I see him as an AHL regular. He's 19 years old, he's going to be 20 in 2 months, and the way his first year played out in the NCAA wasn't great. He can get better, but just based off of what we've seen right now, I'm going to have to put him here in the AHL regular spot. Now we have Zachary Jones, who is a crazy, crazy good prospect. I love Zach Jones and what he was able to do this past season in college. If we take a look at where Jones is on the list, here he is, playing for the University of Massachusetts Amherst. He had 23 points in 32 games as a freshman. He's 5'10", 176 pounds, and despite the fact that he was that stature, he was still such a greatly offensive, productive defenseman. He was just under a point per game in the USHL last season. He was a great player, and carrying that over to the NCAA was a really, really good trait development-wise for Zachary Jones, which is why I'm putting him here in the top 4 potential for defensemen. Next up, it's a guy with probably one of the best names in the prospect system. It's Hunter Skinner, who I'm going to have here in the bottom line category. If we take a look at what Hunter Skinner was able to do with the London Knights as an OHL defender, he kind of got a little bit better as his career went on. Playing in the USHL, he was okay for the Muskegon Lumberjacks and the Lincoln Stars, but his past season where he was suiting up for London, he proved himself as a big right-handed defenseman who could put up some points and have a really nice profile to go along with that. I say that he's probably going to max out as a bottom-line pair player, but that's still an NHL player in my eyes. Hunter Skinner to me is just that. Next up, we have ourselves a guy in Edstrim, who I'm also going to put here in the bottom line backup position as well. Edstrim is a guy who was playing for the Rögle BK this past season as a young guy. They love playing their young guys over there. They had Nils Höglander, they had Adam Emstrom over here. Edstrim had 9 points in 46 games, which isn't amazing, but he's a 6'6", 212-pound forward. He boasts a very nice profile that I like to see, and just based off of how he was able to play, and the fact that his frame is the way it is, to me, he says that he does have some form of NHL potential, if not just in a backup, bottom-line position. I say backup, he's not a goalie, but you get what I'm saying over here. So that's why I'm going to have Edstrom over here in this tier right now. Next up, it's Eric Cicilline, who is a guy who's really, really weird. Cicilline I'm also going to put here in the bottom line backup position, mostly because of the uncertainty with how he is going to develop. Cicilline played with the University of Michigan Wolverines, getting half a point a game in his freshman year. Now, that's not amazing, but it's not bad either. The fact is, though, last year, Cicilline was a crazy, crazy good OJHL player, playing for the Toronto Junior Canadiens. The OJHL is Junior A hockey in Canada. It's the same tier as the BCHL. The problem is, the OJHL and the BCHL are not really that comparable. They're the same tier, yes, but the BCHL is known as a much harder league than the OJHL is. That means that when you have a player who is so good, like Cicilline in the OHL in his draft year, 62 points, 48 games played, it's really difficult to judge just how good that kind of player is. He was taken in the 7th round for a reason, but his first year in Michigan was really great, so I'm going to have to put him here in the bottom line spot. Now, we have a guy who is crazy, crazy good in Lauri Pajuniemi. This guy, I'm going to put here in the top 6. Some people may get pissed off about that. Some may say that he deserves to be up here. Some may say he deserves to be down here. But to me, Pajuniemi, just to keep things safe, projects as a top 6 potential ceiling to me. Pajuniemi was a crazy good Finnish Hockey League player. He's 20 years old, he was 20 the entire season, and he just had 40 points in 49 games played in the Liga. That is crazy. He was Capo Caco's teammate last year, 13 points, 44 games. That's not too great. But this season, he just exploded. And right now, the 6', 183-pound right winger is is so good that, to me, he projects as a top 6 potential player in the National Hockey League. Sure, could he project a little bit better? Absolutely. But we'll have to see as his career goes on. But for now, this is definitely a great number for a guy who was taken in the 5th round 2 years ago. Next up, we have ourselves Nils Lundkvist, and we talked about good European players who showed off really well in their home countries. Well, Nils Lundkvist is one of those players. Take a look at what Nils Lundkvist was able to do as an SHL athlete, 31 points in 45 games as a right-handed D-man. This guy is 19 years old, getting just under a point per game in one of the hardest hockey leagues in the world. He was great last year, 10 points, 41 games, but he absolutely exploded this season. And just because it's a little bit harder for a D-man to do that than a forward, I'm going to put Lundkvist in the elite category and Pajuniemi in the top 6 category. Lundkvist was taken in the 1st round 2 years ago, and he has been lights out ever since. 8 points in 7 games played at the World Juniors. Take a look at these awards over here. The most assists by a junior player, most points by a junior player in the SHL this season, and he's a D-man. What a crazy potential ceiling does Nils Lundkvist have as a prospect, which is why we're putting him here in the elite category. Next up, we have ourselves Lynn Bohm. Now, Lynn Bohm is a guy who a lot of people will say that he has Igor Shesterkin potential, but I just don't see it, man. The numbers to me haven't been great, but at the same time, Lynn Bohm is a guy whose team wasn't really all too great either. Playing for the backup role in Mora IK, the starting goalie there wasn't too great either. These numbers haven't been impressive, but at the same time, Lynn Bohm is a long-term project. Some people will go as far to say that he does have that Shesterkin potential, but just to keep things safe, the numbers indicate to me that he's not going to be super good. Obviously, that could change, but just to keep things safe, we're putting him here in the backup category. Next up, it's Ragnarson, a guy who I'm also going to put here in this bottom line spot. Now, Ragnarson is a guy who played in the Allsvenskan after getting cut from his SHL team. In the Allsvenskan, he had 9 points in 30 games played as a 20-year-old left-handed D-man. It's not amazing, but at the same time, it's not bad. Just to keep things safe, we'll put him here in the bottom line spot. He was drafted 2 years ago, and 2 years ago, he was playing in the Allsvenskan League. He did improve that points per game a little bit, but obviously, as the years go on, you would like to see a little bit more out of a player like this. Next up, we have ourselves Cali Jalen, who I'm going to put over here in the fringe NHLer spot, the first fringe NHLer on our tier list over here. He's a guy who, if we take a look at his statistical profile, he's a left-handed D-man, 20 years of age, playing in the SHL, and he played in the Allsvenskan as well. He was never really noted as a point producer, but at the same time, being able to play in the SHL and the Allsvenskan is a good thing, especially for a guy 20 years of age. But he's going to be 21 once this year comes to an end, and to me, that's just not enough to say that he is going to be an amazing NHL prospect. I'm going to have him here in fringe NHLer just to be safe, but he obviously could become a little bit more as time goes on. We'll just have to wait and see. Next up, we have ourselves Morgan Barron, a Hobey Baker candidate, and a guy who I'm going to say has middle 6 potential. If we take a look at what Barron was able to do this past season in the NCAA with the Cornell University hockey team, he was a really good player as their captain. 32 points, 29 games played, a point per game player, a Hobey Baker finalist, as we said, and he's going to be coming over probably next year. If the Rangers don't decide to sign him, he'll go back, but at the same time, he is a player who there's been rumors that he is going to sign soon. It's just a matter of time. But this past season he had was really nice to see, so middle 6 potential is something I definitely do see out of Morgan Barron as a 6'2", 209-pound center. Next up, we have ourselves Tarmo Volkov, who I'm going to put over here in the bottom line spot as well. If we take a look at what he was able to do in the Finnish Liga, a left-handed D-man, 22 years of age, his points per game was really good, 20 points, 50 games played. But he is a little bit on the older side, he just turned 22, and the clock is kind of ticking for a guy like Runanen. Just because of that, I'm going to have to put him here in the bottom line spot. Does he have NHL potential? Absolutely. Can he be better than just a bottom line pairing D-man? Absolutely. But all the factors combined, all the context, I'm going to have to put him here. I don't really see him projecting as a middle 6, bottom 4 fringe starter kind of player or a top 4 D-man, but just keeping him over here to me is a little bit on the safer side. Next up, we have Julian Gautier, a guy who I'm going to be taking the high road over here, and I'm going to say he probably belongs over here in the middle six forward category. Gautier is a guy playing for the Charlotte Checkers, and I know that's the AHL team for the Carolina Hurricanes, but he spent some time with the New York Rangers towards the end of the season. He was really good in the AHL, and that to me screams a middle six potential player. He's a big guy, 6'4", 227 pounds, a former first round draft pick in 2016. To me, he probably can suit up in the Rangers middle six sometime down the line, which is why I'm going to have him here in this spot. Now, we move on to some of the sadder ones. This is Ty Ronning, a guy who I'm going to put here in the AHL star category. It kind of sucks to see, but Ty Ronning to me was always a fun guy to watch because I live in Vancouver. I saw some Giants games where Ty Ronning could absolutely just control things on a dime. But he's 22 years of age, playing in the ECHL primarily. He wasn't all too great in the AHL. I don't really see him becoming anything more than an AHL star, and the same thing can be said for Sean Day, a former exceptional status player in the OHL. He was playing mostly in the main Mariners system in the ECHL as well, doing pretty well over there, but not really being able to crack things in the Hartford Wolfpack system, not really finding his place and not really finding his stride. To me, Sean Day doesn't really report as an NHL potential prospect anymore, which sucks to hear, but obviously if these guys prove me wrong, then I would be very happy with that, but they're already 22. It doesn't really look like things are on their side when it comes to time. Next up, it's Ryan Gropp, a guy who I'm going to put a little bit higher than them in the fringe NHLer spot. Gropp, to me, has a little bit of an interesting story. He's also in that AHL, ECHL kind of spot, but he's 23 years of age, man. I don't really see him becoming anything more. The only reason I have him higher than Ronning and Day is because Gropp already had some really good AHL seasons compared to the other two. It's kind of sad to see because they were supposed to be much better, especially watching Seattle Thunderbirds games. This guy could absolutely control games on his own, but I'd be lying if I said there was legit NHL potential with Ryan Gropp, so I'm going to put him here in the fringe NHLer spot. Next up, we're going to keep with the fringe NHLers as we put Adam Huska over here as well. Now, Huska has an interesting story too. He played for the Hartford Wolfpack, yes. He played for the Maine Mariners, yes. But recently, playing for the University of Connecticut, he had a few good years and one somewhat poor year. His last year wasn't amazing, an .896 save percentage and a .334 goals against average, but transitioning into the AHL, it wasn't really amazing for him. You can see these numbers haven't been amazing. He was good in the ECHL though, so I'll give him that. And his last year in the USHL was amazing, a .931 save percentage and a .182 goals against average. It's just, to me, with Adam Huska, he is a long-term project. He's 22 years of age, and I wouldn't really be surprised if he never solidified himself as a backup or a fringe starter or a legit NHL starter, which is why we're going to put him here in the fringe NHLer. Now for Igor Shesterkin, the only guy who we're putting on this list who was drafted before 2015, I'm putting him here in the franchise category, man. Shesterkin is such a good goalie. If I'm going to say that he has franchise potential, I could say that and believe myself 110%. You could call me boosting his stock a little bit too high. You could say that I'm being biased, but nah, man, this guy's crazy, crazy good. Take a look at what he was able to do all the way back there in the KHL and the AHL. This guy is the real deal at 24 years of age. Look at this, a .934 in the AHL, a .932 in the NHL, a .953 in the KHL. Shesterkin is the real deal, and you cannot convince me otherwise. He is going to be a franchise goaltender in the NHL. Next up, it's Ryan Lindgren, a guy who played a lot in the NHL this past season, and honestly, a guy to me who has some legit top 4 potential by the time he hits his prime. Lindgren played 9 games with the Hartford Wolfpack, but he played a lot in the NHL this past season, where he got 14 points. That's really not bad. As a 22-year-old guy, he's got a much bigger ceiling than what he has shown so far. I know a lot of Rangers fans were calling for his head and saying on Twitter that he should probably be sent back down to Hartford, but to me, Lindgren, long-term, projects as a top 4 potential defenseman. Now we have Libor Hajek, a guy who I'm also going to put here a little bit lower down in the bottom 4 spot. Now, Hajek is a guy who had 3 points in 23 games played. That's not amazing, but at the same time, he did have an extended look in the NHL, and the way he has been progressing throughout the WHL system, etc., experiencing things in the weird way that he did where he played in the AHL before going back to the WHL, it was really weird to see his development path, but to me, Hajek is a guy who does project to be an NHL player in some capacity. I'm just going to have him here in the bottom 4 spot because that's where I feel like he's going to go. Next up, it's Jake Elmer, a WHL star who signed on with the Rangers organization. I'm going to put him here in the bottom line spot. Elmer is a guy to me who does have quite a lot of potential to become better, but his track record doesn't really say to me that he's going to be anything super amazing. He was great with the Lethbridge Hurricanes last season, I know that, but he spent a lot of time in the ECHL, wasn't really able to crack the AHL full-time, although his stint last year was really good. So, to me, just to be safe, we're going to put Elmer here in the bottom line backup position, because, hey, that's still NHL potential in my eyes. Next up, we're moving into the NCAA free agent signings. First off, it's Justin Richards. I think he has middle six potential over here with the Rangers. He's a guy who, for the University of Minnesota Duluth, had 25 points in 34 games played. He signed on a little bit after the season concluded, a 5'11", 190-pound center, 22 years of age, and a very good point producer in the NCAA. Next up, we have ourselves Austin Ruchoff, who I'm also going to put in that same spot over here, the middle six category. Now, Ruchoff had a lot of points as well, 26 and 36 games played for Western Michigan University. If we check things out over here, a 6'7", 229-pound right winger. He had a lot of points, yes. Could his production be a little bit better? Yes. But my oh my, a 6'7", 229-pound player, that is crazy. Give me more of that. That to me screams middle six potential, who does have the ability to score too. Then we have Patrick Kodorenko, probably the best player out of this bunch, but I'm also going to put here in the middle six category. Kodorenko was a very good player this past season in the NCAA, just under a point per game in 36 games played, 6 feet, 201 pounds, 21 years of age. He was an absolute beast, playing 4 years at Michigan State University, a consistent 30-point producer. He, to me, screams just like the other two guys in Richard and Ruchoff, a middle six NHL caliber player. Next up, we have Matthew Robertson, a guy who I'm going to put over here in the top 4 category. A guy who got better as his years in the WHL went on. Robertson is a guy who progressed a little bit more each year. Last year, he had 33 points, 52 games played when he got drafted. This year, he had 47 points in 60 games played. So a nice big increase in points all around. As a 19-year-old, Robertson to me is a guy who does project to be a top 4 player. It's why he was taken in the second round a little bit earlier. A very underrated pick in my eyes. He does have NHL potential, which is why I'm going to put him over here in the top 4 spot. Sticking with that, though, we're going to go with Carl Henriksen and put him over here as well. Carl Henriksen is a guy who I'm a big fan of because playing in the Super Elite, he just absolutely dominated. A 5'9", 174-pound center left wing player. Last year, when he got drafted later on in the second round, he was a really good player. 49 points, 45 games played in the Swedish Junior League. He went back and tore that league apart, 27 games and 41 points. He was so good that he played in the SHL, he played in the Allsvenskan, and next season playing with, I don't know, probably Lucas Raymond a little bit more, he's going to be in a spot where he's going to have the opportunities to shine. Sure, he's 5'9", but I'm not going to let that stop me from putting him here. I think he's got top 6 potential. Next up is a guy who's also pretty small, but who didn't have the same amount of success as Carl Henriksen did. We have ourselves Levi Aaltonen. A guy who last season I probably would have put over here, but he kind of showed a little bit poorly this past season, so I'm going to have to drop him a little bit for that. Levi Aaltonen had a crazy good draft year. Just over a point per game in the Junior A SM Liga, the Finnish Junior League over there. He's a guy who is only 5'9" as well, but this guy can skate like the wind. His skating is so good. His skating alone is going to be the #1 asset that allows him to succeed in his hockey career, but playing in the Liga this past season, he only had 7 points in 45 games. It's not great. And because he had a bad season, we're going to have to demote him, but normally I would have put him over here. But we're going to leave him here, just for the sake of the tier list, and go on to the next one, which is Vitali Kravtsov. No questions asked, I say he has an elite ceiling. Kravtsov, to me, still has the potential to become great in the NHL one day. Playing in the KHL, he was good. Playing in the AHL, he was good. But I think he can be better than this. He has shown that he can be better than this. To me, Vitali Kravtsov can become an elite NHLer. Sure, you could say I'm biased. You could say that I'm crazy. You could say that he's probably supposed to be over here. But hey, it's hot take season, isn't it? Let's have Kravtsov over here because I'm the guy making the tier list. If you want to do this, you can check out the link in the description to do this yourself. Also, with elite players, though, we're going to have KayAndre Miller up here. Boy, oh boy, is KayAndre Miller a great prospect. KayAndre Miller was over here getting himself 18 points in 36 games played in the University of Wisconsin system. Formerly of the US NTTP, he has just been getting better and better as his career has gone on. Now, you could say the numbers don't really indicate that, but the University of Wisconsin was kind of bad this year, so I'm going to give him a pass for that there. KayAndre Miller, to me, though, after he signs his contract, is going to go over to the AHL, do some really good things over there, if not crack the NHL, and long-term, to me, this big left-handed defenseman has top 4 potential, top 2 potential for sure. I'm going to say that he is elite. Now, it's Niko Gross, a guy who I'm going to put over here in the top 4 category as well. Gross is a Swiss OHL defender, a guy who had 33 points in 53 games played. He got a little bit better as his career went on, from 20 and 56 to 33 and 53. Obviously, you like to see the upward progression from these players, but we will see what Gross is able to do later on, either in the AHL or cracking the NHL soon. But to me, he does have some top 4 potential in the NHL. Next up, we have ourselves a guy in Brandon Crawley, who I'm going to be honest, I'm going to put here in the AHL regular spot. Crawley, to me, doesn't really have the best potential because he's already 23 years old. He's still playing in the ECHL. He wasn't able to find a consistent AHL role that allowed him to succeed. I don't really see Crawley becoming anything more than an established AHL player, so we're going to put him over here. Next up with Tim Gettinger, we're going to put him over here in the bottom line spot over here. We're going to put him over in the bottom line spot. I think Gettinger is a guy who does have some form of NHL potential, playing for the Hartford Wolfpack, 27 points in 53 games. It's really good, honestly, but he's 22 years old, so he's a little bit older. He is big, which I really like as well, 6'6", 220 pounds, and he already played some games in the NHL, so we're not going to discredit that, of course. To me, though, Gettinger kind of maxes out as a bottom-line NHL player. I'd be surprised if he broke into a top-9 role sooner or later, but he's a guy who I'd like to have on my team, man. 6'6", 220 pounds. It's the same story that we talked about with Rushoff, these two big guys that we have in our system. So it's awesome to see the big guys come to play, and to me, Gettinger does have NHL potential. Next up with Gabriel Fontaine, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to have to put him here in the AHL regular spot as well. I don't really see Fontaine becoming anything special. He's going to be 23 by the time this video comes up, 6'1", 194 pounds. He's played a few years in Hartford, but he hasn't really been getting better. Injuries slowed him down as well. Fontaine, to me, doesn't really have NHL potential, so we're going to leave him here in the AHL regular spot. And last but not least, it's the guy who has played some NHL time, but who is still going to be considered a prospect just for this exercise. It's Lias Andersson, who I'm going to put here in the top 6 category. Man, I hope he becomes great. I hope this player can become a good NHL player with top 6 potential. I think he can do it. Do you? A lot of people are going to say no, but you can comment in the comment section down below why I am wrong. Also, now that we're here, finished up our New York Rangers prospects tier list, you can get my final thoughts on everybody. Also, check out Grav's video. It'll be in the description down below. See what he had different than I did, and see which tier list you think is better. That's another one. Comment down below if you've seen both of the videos. Who do you think had the more accurate tier list in your opinion? I hope you enjoyed this video. You can check the description to find this tier list. Make one yourself. Social Trolls 99. Subscribe to Graviteh as well. Watch his video. And bye.